Giratina Origin. Look at that. Have you ever seen one of these before?
And there is that Giratina with his tournament dreams on the line.
Brings me because Inadequates comes straight in with that Giratina Origin.
My goodness.
Into the Giratina.
Inadequates making it look really easy to run.
There is no room for error with Giratina Origin.
This is not neutral at all. Giratina is so good.
All this Giratina needs to do is take out most of the HP.
And Giratina Origin does it!
The 2026 Championship Series has officially started. This year marks the 30-year anniversary of Pokémon and the 10-year anniversary of Pokémon Go. Worlds this year is probably going to be big and I want to qualify. My last attempt at getting championship points didn't go so well though, and to qualify I need to be in the top 65 of this championship points leaderboard in Europe. The very first tournament of the season took place in Frankfurt. This is actually where it all started for me. In 2022, Though Tactical dragged me to the very first EUIC that was held in the same venue. And this was a special tournament because it was also the first official broadcasted tournament for Pokémon Go. No Pokémon Go players at the time had any idea what this would look like. And how cool the setup actually was. A fresh inspiration and hope for the PvP scene that it would go further than the small grassroots formats and the flat blind 3 battles in the Go Battle League. I made it to the top 8 here with a favorite of mine, Pelipper, and even showcased the first ever sex swap on the official broadcast. The French player Nico Giroud, now a TCG player, and the world champion of that season, Dancing Rob, were the only ones to stop me here. Now it's time to redeem myself. Last season was not too bad, with 3 4th places out of 4 appearances, but I feel like I lost the spotlight a bit as a competitor. For this championship, I had my team ready the week before and put in quite the practice. A big shout out to my friends for exchanging ideas and helping me get a feeling with these Pokémon. Is Giratina my signature Pokémon by now? It's always on my mind when I build teams, but it's so difficult to build around it. Its many resistances makes it appealing, but the latest metas are saturated with dark and normal type Pokémon. With the release of Shadow Giratina altered in a brand new meta, I wanted to give it another try. Giratina is always the starting point for my teams, and I need to pair it with 2 or 3 Pokémon that can cover its biggest weaknesses and also don't fold to the popular threats. Dark types are fairly straightforward to handle, which is why Giratina pairs well with fairy type Pokémon like Wigglytuff and Tinkaton. Wigglytuff in particular checks 2 common menaces, Shadow Merrick and Galarian Corsola. That makes the Giratina Wigglytuff core very appealing. Primeape would make for an even more flexible core, but it creates too much dead weight against opposing Wigglytuff or Tinkaton. After testing, the Giratina Wigglytuff duo wasn't good enough. I struggled heavily against Azumarill, so I switched my main core to Giratina Scizor. Shadow Scizor adds much needed pressure against fairy and normal types, while also keeping matchups like Galarian Moltres and Empoleon close. In return, Giratina shields Scizor from fire and fighting type Pokemon, creating a very well balanced synergy. That said, Wigglytuff wasn't cut from the roster entirely. It just needed a new partner, big man Blastoise. Blastoise covers Wigglytuff's vulnerabilities, especially Scizor and fire types, while also giving me solid play against Azumarill and most ground types. This second core bolsters my defenses significantly, and at this point I was locked into 2 reliable cores, 4 Pokemon total. The last 2 slots needed to patch the gaps. Empoleon, Scizor and the Dedenne were still problematic and I wanted options that wouldn't fall to meta staples. I went with the brand new Shadow Talonflame. While it sacrifices some neutral matchups, it excels at forcing shield pressure. The Dedenne matchup stays tough, but it's closer. Shadow Merrick cannot even get to 3 charge attacks, and Empoleon gets entirely incinerated down too. Even Cradily is farmed down after letting a flame charge go or faints to the final fly. It's the perfect Pokemon to win the lead and can punish opponents who think they're prepared for the standard variant, and then they are overwhelmed by its added bite of Shadow. The final slot was a no-brainer. Gastrodon. It pairs perfectly with Talonflame. The buff to Water Pulse adds crucial coverage against Shadow Marowak and Talonflame, and the buff to Body Slam means your neutral matchups are now much better. Most importantly, Gastrodon acts as a hard counter to the Dedenne, which is one of my team's biggest headaches. After practicing, there were a couple things that I found about the team. Dragon Claw from Giratina hits harder than expected and can two-shot Ferret and Dunsparce. Giratina can Shadow Claw down at the Dene after landing an Ancient Power before the first player off. Fire types are rare and my team handles Charizard really well. That makes Shadow Scissor a very safe pick. Wigglytuff is heavily underrated. Its typing still punishes Galarian Corsola and Moltres, while its faster access to Icy Wind ensures wins against Marowak and Ferret. Some teams were even triple weak to Wigglytuff. Opponents consistently brought Azumarill, which made Blastoise shine, but losing to Galarian Corsola and Shadow Marowak consistently is painful. Shadow Talonflame can easily dismantle cores built around Empoleon, Cradily, and Shadow Marowak, often securing 2 knockouts in one game. Gastrodon is perfect to set up Talonflame for a shield advantage, and it also holds its own against Charizard thanks to resisting the fire damage, making even Shadow Charizard a winnable matchups. These were very important notes to take into the tournament. It was going to be a tough day, as I had some tough names in my group, including last season's Worlds finalist, Patoman. My first round started around 9:30, and I would face off against Lenono27, a player from Luxembourg. Obviously, I was quite nervous. I couldn't find anything on my opponent on Dracoviz, but my heart pounded just a bit more when I saw his in-game legend pose. What I noticed first is his Altaria. It received quite a rework with Dragon Breath now being energy focused and Flamethrower for additional coverage. Flamethrower makes my Scissor iffy to use, but I might need it for the Wigglytuff and Cradily. The other Pokemon I worry about is Empoleon, which pairs really well with that Altaria. Giratina Altered is my best option to break this up. Scissor won't do well enough, because it only defeats the Shadow variant of Empoleon in 2 shoots. My first approach is to hope my opponent underestimates Shadow Talonflame and I can get my Wigglytuff on the Altaria. I won my first round. I do think my meta call is really bad with all these Ferrets running around. However, my opponent was really weak to Shadow Talonflame. They had like Empoleon and Cradily to check it, but Shadow Talonflame just 2 shields to do that. I had my Wigglytuff on the Altaria, so that was kind of convenient. In game 2, I thought I threw because I thought Altaria was like 30% HP, and also his Cradily was really good IV, so he lived a Dragon Claw and Ancient Power, and then I lost Switch. So in the end, it came down to my Shadow Talonflame on the Altaria and my Wigglytuff on the Empoleon. So I went for a Fly straight on the Altaria, and then he swapped out at some point. I just went straight Incinerate, kept his 2 shields in there, and like 4 Incinerate brought Empoleon to red, then just charmed everything down, so barely got there. My second round is against my good Italian friend Alejandro DL. We've played before in Liu, and one thing that scares me about Alejandro is that he just runs whatever. His team compositions may not make sense, so it's impossible to predict him. The Steelix on his side is very good, but so is my Shadow Talonflame. This is exactly what Flame Charge is for, dealing as much damage as possible to the Steel-type Pokémon. Steelix generally runs Thunderfang in this meta, so Talonflame does lose with shields up. I need my Shadow Talonflame on anything other than the Steelix. I don't even mind wiggling it down with my Fairy type, because the damage output of Steelix is low and I can wear it down with Ice Winds, and thus keeping the shields for Shadow Talonflame. Round 2 I had to play against my good friend Alejandro. He had a freaking Steelix. All the Italians are running Steelix, and it's pretty good into my team. Luckily I had my Gastrodon on it twice. He safe switches in the first game. Third game he caught a Flame Charge on Shadow Marowak. When he let Galarian Corsola into my Shadow Talonflame, which was very surprising, and then I just aligned Wiggly into Galarian Corsola and Gastrodon Steelix, so I kind of got away. Next up is my good friend, a Mind Joke. This is not a fun round. I consider a Mind Joke as one of my best friends in Pokemon Go, and I want to see him succeed. but I'm not handing out free wins, at least not on purpose, so he's gotta earn it. Steelix again is very tough, but I have prepared well for these teams. And there's two types of users. One that brings out Steelix because it's good, like Alejandro did, and I think a Mind Joke is the other type. The type of player that will avoid using Steelix so it doesn't risk aligning it to Gastrodon. My approach is bold. I start out disrespecting the Steelix, but not entirely without a plan. Talonflame could wear it down and then Wigglytuff can soak the energy. I'm always bringing Blastoise because I predict the Azumarill and Shadow Marowak to come out. Blastoise can lock down Azumarill and hit back the Marowak. Wigglytuff would lock down Shadow Malamar and Galarian Moltres, should he decide to bring those. A Mind Joke underestimates the matchup altogether. He relies on the Pokémon he considers the safest in this meta, Shadow Marowak. But Marowak has no real targets on my team, and definitely not into the Pokémon I brought to this game. On top of that, he didn't even bring a second Talonflame answer. You'll see. To start off, my prediction was correct. He safe switched the Azumarill. I realize I will get outpaced to the first player up anyway, so I may as well do an extra Incinerate to gather energy in case there is a Steelix in the back. With Azumarill out of the way, there's no reason to stay in with Blastoise, so that's why I hard swap into the Shadow Talonflame immediately. It would drop a potential Steelix, but a Mind Joke reveals Cradily and Talonflame is about to pop off. The game is over from here.
Flame Charge. This Shadow Talonflame Incinerate is about to do massive damage. If I can incinerate this Cradily down and start to land heavy damage onto the Shadow Kanto Marowak, could I not even show my Wigglytuff in the back?
And if there is no shield on the side of the Shadow Marowak, Icy Wind is going to put an end to this battle.
Martine has played this first game to perfection, showcasing Shadow Talonflame as the MVP in this game number 1.
For game 2, I took a risky approach against a potential Galarian Moltres lead. Scizor doesn't do great into it, but it can brute force through that matchup and then hopefully Gastrodon will be free. Instead, I catch the Shadow Malamar lead, which is great for Scizor. I throw my energy quick here because I don't want this Malamar to stick around. He then swaps into Azumarill and I deploy the same strategy of building energy. This time, I was predicting Shadow Marowak in the back. Having the energy would help pull down the shields or HP so I can unleash the Blastoise energy later on in the end game.
Know that they will have to think and hope. Will they get what they need? Wow. Martine doesn't allow the catch. Comes in with the Shadow Sizzle. And here comes that Shadow Kanto Marowak. And Martine nods his head. That is a Pokemon that he wanted to see.
He has so much energy. With 2 more bullet punches, the next Night Slash will be reached. The timer is nowhere near.
Mind Joke puts up a shield, but we know that the Blastoise has a ton of energy. Here comes the Skull Bash. Inadequate's reminding the world that he has everything it takes to be a winner.
I honestly almost sobbed winning this because I hate to see a Mind Joke lose, but that's the competition, and we had lunch afterwards. He will proceed to continue in the losers bracket while I was done for day 1. Batoman would be my first opponent on day 2.
Will that be on your YouTube video?
Maybe.
Oh, thank you.
My first day 2 matches tend to be my worst, so I did a lot of practice for my match against Batoman. I had a lot of core breakers for his team. He basically couldn't do these compositions in the lead and in the back. Marowak with Scizor and vice versa. Galarian Corsola with Goodra and vice versa. Goodra and Wigglytuff and vice versa. He doesn't have a great answer for Gastrodon, so the Charger Bug is tough to play for Batoman. In this match, I will only play 3 Pokemon, and I can play them in any order: Wigglytuff, Talonflame, and Gastrodon. The Gastrodon is always good to save switch, and it easily grabs a shield or switch against anything but Galarian Corsola in the lead. He needed to play very specific lines, very specifically, to win against this composition. Batoman knew his matchup was bad, and he plays a composition I did not expect at all. Marowak again has no target on my team, but he leads it. Gastrodon easily grabs the shield advantage Talonflame needs at this point. Even against Goodra, I would win the 2-1 shield. But I can't figure out what his backline Pokemon is. He goes down 2 shields to protect Charger Bug, and at this point I should have known it was going to be Scizor in the back. The end game is nutty. I now need to make a call. Does Pokémon expect me to throw immediately or not? If I don't throw immediately and he swaps, he will get to a Bone Club on Marowak and then Talonflame loses charge attack priority to the Scissor. If I throw immediately and he CMPs with the Scissor, I lose. If I don't throw immediately, but he does, I would incinerate down the Scissor and come out with an attack to KO the Marowak. I'm guessing Pokémon expects me not to throw immediately and he wants to go for the Bone Club and then throw the Night Slash. So I throw immediately. He catches the Flame Charge on Marowak, and then I have a Protect Shield and I KO the Scissor with 1 Incinerate to win the game. Pokémon risked the ABA against Talonflame. I think his idea was that if he loses the lead, he could get energy on Marowak later to one-shot my Talonflame. It is definitely not a composition I predicted. In game 2, I catch the Marowak lead, and this is something I had practiced. If he swaps into Charge Bug now, I can go into Gastrodon, throw a Body Slam, take 2 X Scissor to leave minimal farm for the next Pokemon, and I come out with a Water Pulse. I'm guessing Pokémon knew Charge Bug can pull shields from Gastrodon, but I guess he forgot about the Shadow Incinerate that landed. The game is over from this point. Talonflame is going to clean up.
This is going to be crucial, as you're going to see now, of course. The Talonflame came back in.
There's a shield being put up here against the Bone Club. Bait is an Eloquence going to throw a charge attack immediately. Yes, full Mud Slap coming through. Flame Charge is going to be hit with a shield.
And now it's a Shadow Sealer against a boosted Shadow Talonflame. I'm curious on how much damage 1 Incinerate is going to do here.
Oh, both trainers are laughing. Padoman is shaking his head. That is a lot of damage. Incinerate down. Inadequance wins versus Padoman 2-0. And Inadequance now officially the first trainer making it to top 8 in the new regional season here in Frankfurt.
Earlier in the tournament, I said I thought my meta call was bad, but it was only bad against Third and Steelix teams. I've gotten past most of those now, and the compositions are looking to be in my favor. If you are a Blastoise fan, hold on tight for what's to come. My next opponent is Chris LB7, a friend of Pokémon. He also has Shadow Talonflame. Again, I have a lot of core breakers here. My Wigglytuff makes it tough for him to pair Malamar and Dusclops. My Scissor makes it tough to pair Malamar and Wigglytuff. My Giratina makes it tough to pair Talonflame and Charjabug. My Talonflame makes it tough to pair Marowak and Wigglytuff. This quick analysis convinces me that my Giratina is somewhat safe to use. I would never use it as a safe switch against a team that has Wigglytuff on it, but it could put in work against matchups that look bad but aren't really the worst, such as Malamar and Dusclops. My first approach has 4 strategies. Hunt down the bird, make sure Talonflame can't get an energy advantage, an ABB strategy against Charjabug, and if Chris leads Charjabug, it is highly unlikely to be Talonflame in the back because of Giratina, so there's almost no way I can get hard counted on the lead and the switch. Both Blastoise and Giratina defeat Talonflame, while Gastrodon can deal with it up energy or shields. If I lead strong against Talonflame, he can never safe switch it against me, so Talonflame would never be up energy. Chris leads Shadow Malamar in game 1. This is probably the worst lead I could face, because it's likely Talonflame in the back to cover a potential Wigglytuff lead of mine. His third shouldn't be Dusclops, because that'd be too weak to that Wigglytuff. It's also unlikely his Wigglytuff, because then my Scissor could annihilate him in the lead. But I know immediately what to do. I can throw my Hydro Cannon straight away, because nothing on his team resists water. He shields it up, and because I threw fast, he's not far ahead in energy when I swap into the Gastrodon. Chris stays in. He knows that down energy and a shield, Marowak and Talonflame won't do well here. After knocking out Malamar, Chris comes in with Marowak. This made me think he might not have Talonflame in the back. It would be weird to save this since I still had half the Blastoise. Chris trusts the Marowak though, and it puts me in an icky spot. I review Giratina, and he doesn't swap into Wigglytuff. Could it be Dusclops? Charjabug? Chris attempts to catch a Dragon Claw on his Talonflame, but he fails, and I look at him. And I wanted to say, you messed up. Chris looked up at the same time, and he knew. And perhaps he was predicting the Scissor. Regardless, Shadow Giratina Altered on its first ever stream appearance gets the double knockout to secure game 1. My strategy for game 2 is not as complicated. It's a win lead RPS in the back. Remember how I talked about partners? They are supposed to cover each other's weaknesses extremely well. That means if I win the lead with Gastrodon, I likely can RPS Chris in the back. but Chris leads exactly that Pokemon I can't win the lead against. I need to adapt quickly. If my opponent leads weak to Wigglytuff, then Wigglytuff probably doesn't have a lot of use in the back. So Gastrodon takes a shield, gets Malamar low, and then I keep 2 shields for Blastoise. At this point, I have won the battle if Chris has Talonflame and no Charge Bug. Talonflame is obsolete against Blastoise, as it will always get outpaced behind energy, and Blastoise wins with his shield up against anything else.
Gastrodon is able to get to the body slam, but not able to use it.
That's quite unfortunate for Inadequates, not being able to get to the Spore Slam, but we're gonna see now the superpower coming through. No shield straight away, kind of trying to rely on that Blastoise here. No shield again, so Wigglytuff is gonna get really low now with this one, but it's not gonna go down. But we're gonna see now the Blastoise, and Blastoise looks really good against the remaining Pokemon.
Yep, shield coming up once again. Talonflame is going to be exposed without any shields in the game to keep it from the relentless onslaught coming through from this Blastoise. So much damage coming poor Talonflame's way. You know the Marowak is in the back, but only on a slither of HP remaining. Hydro Cannon connects. The bird falls from the sky as the Marowak comes back in, but it's not going to be enough. It goes down. Inadequate celebrates knowing that he has been the victor in this winner's semis.
I realize here I made it to top 3 and I won my 7th medal. This is the 3rd time I would reach the winners finals, but I have never won that before. My next opponent would be the Italian player 9 Ep2. This is his first time getting this far in a regional championship. He had just defeated King OWT, whose team would have been a real struggle as I'm not strong against first. Alfie has a unique team with Dunsparce and Togekiss. Frankly, those are exactly the normal and fairy type Pokemon Giratina does not fear. Up until this match, I had used Giratina just twice. Now it's their time to shine. Giratina is extremely good into the team of Alfie. It defeats Charizard, Cradily, Gastrodon and Togekiss, and then Dunsparce and Galarian Corsola also take massive damage and can lose to Giratina. Being able to fall back on a decent Pokemon gave me a significant confidence boost, as if I could lock in whatever I wanted to. My first thought was that Alfie is likely to lead Galarian Corsola with Cradily in the back. I can't lead Wigglytuff and have Scizor in the back because of his Shadow Charizard would just run through my line. Despite predicting this composition from Alfie, I decide to lean into the strengths of my team instead. Game 1. I start with an ABB strategy. If I lead into Galarian Corsola or Dunsparce, I would switch into Gastrodon to bait out Cradily. Gastrodon with shields up can actually be really obnoxious for Cradily with Acid. But my call is excellent. He leads Gastrodon, and this is where Giratina shines. It doesn't resist ground, but Gastrodon only uses resisted charge attacks now that it prefers water pulse. This can be iffy with shields up, but Giratina itself would always get this low without using any shields. It is important to stick to the strategy here. I need to bait out a potential Cradily and Alfie is staying in. So I attempt to catch an attack on Blastoise and bait it out, but he happens to simultaneously swap into the Dunsparce. From this point, all I need to do is make sure I can get some energy off into whatever else is in the back and align Giratina to Gastrodon so his energy is worthless.
Just trying to get all the damage on the board it can. The Skull Rush secures the KO and the defense comes in as well. That'll give it a little bit of flexibility against these Astonishers, but it only can hang on for one more of them. Blastoise goes down, but now Gastrodon is indeed on the field. It now has to face down against that Corsola that was able to fell the Blastoise previously. Nightshade will come through. Inadequate's really holding on to these shields.
We also swap straight away into the Gastrodon. We're gonna have Gastrodon against Gastrodon, and we have also the 2 different forms of it.
It's the ultimate battle of the Gastrodons out there on the field. Now we're going to see the Giratina come back into play.
This Water Pulse, while it's resisted, actually still gonna do some solid damage though. Like, Water Pulse is not a bad move at all. And also, of course, the same type as the Gastrodon, doing a little bit more there. And as you can see as well, the Giratina is quite low already. And now it's down to Gastrodon against that Corsola. And this is going to be it. The Gastrodon is actually going to be able to win this battle here with a Water Pulse. Corsola will go down, and Inadequate is going to be able to secure the first battle here.
Game 2. I play the soft ABA strategy here. If I lead into Cradily, I would stay in with Gastrodon and make it straight up annoying for them. Then Blastoise will be free in the back. I lead into Dunsparce however, and this really is just an alignment win. Alfie plays an ABB strategy against Giratina, but this is the only game I didn't bring it. Instead, to answer his Gastrodon, I launch a Water Pulse to grab a shield or deal massive damage, and then soak the weak Body Slams on my Blastoise. Alfie puts up all of his Protect Shields to flip switch, but Charizard is hard to run into my team, and thus a 2-shielded Scissor will clean up.
It was able to farm it down. The other Gastrodon comes in and Water Pulse is able to be unleashed. This Gastrodon is holding on with everything it's got.
So see the Credillion, we're gonna have the Scissor straight away against it. And also, the stun spot is not too great with it because we see 2 shields on the Scissor for an Eloquence. This is a guaranteed boost and it's going to help out so much. And we see already, Alfie is not even gonna go for any charge move anymore. He knows that Scissor is going to be too tough to take down. And again, it's a great team call from an Eloquence. Being able to keep the Scissor in the back there with those 2 shields was crucial to win this matchup here.
In Game 3, I run a rather poor composition and should probably not have played these Pokemon in this order. Giratina and Wigglytuff cover each other perfectly against this team, and I'm trying to catch the Galarian Corsola. But the problem is that to win alignment, I need to win the lead, and frankly, Blastoise is not a great Pokemon for that. I totally miscalculate the lead matchup and I lose switch advantage. Now, Giratina is aligned to Dunsparce, but even worse, Wigglytuff is aligned to Credilli.
To fell the Titan, that is Blastoise. Now the Giratina comes in, however, gets its revenge. Inadequate's not looking too happy, but it has got rid of one of Alfie's Pokemon.
The thing is here, Alfie is going to be able to have perfect alignment. We're still going to see, of course, that Credilli in the back will be a super effective asset against that Wigglytuff later. But because this swap out here as well into that Wigglytuff, and we have the asset coming in now with the Credillion.
Another one of Inadequate's signature Pokemon in the form of this Wigglytuff, and he's protecting it with all he's got and those shields. Giratina rejoins the fray. Dragon Claw is ready, but Dunsparce gets there first. There are no shields remaining on Inadequate's side, so Credilli has the opportunity to go for this Rock Tomb, fully undercharging it.
And I think this is a very, very smart play by Alfie here, going for the Rock Tomb, securing that we get the KO here, but also he knows there's going to be still the icy wind coming through from that Wigglytuff, and we still have a shield in play. Can we get to the Rock Tomb in time? We can, and this is going to be enough to knock out this Wigglytuff, taking the game here for Alfie.
In Game 4, I actually do the same thing again, but this time with Scissor instead of Wigglytuff. Giratina and Scissor also make a very solid core in the back. If it's Gastrodon in the back, I just need to get shields down for Scissor to one-shot it later. And if I soft lose the lead, Giratina could get an energy advantage and deal heavy damage to Galarian Corsola or Dunsparce too. This time, I face Galarian Corsola in the lead. I consider that pretty good, since I have Giratina in the back. My line throws Alfie entirely off his plan. He is playing ABB versus Giratina. Gastrodon is supposed to bait it out, so Charizard is free, but he can't let Blastoise roam around, so he has to stay in. After Blastoise goes down, Alfie blind swaps into Gastrodon, knowing he needs it into Giratina anyway. This play seems rather strange to me, but I didn't realize it was Charizard. Halfway, I had to make a decision. Do I shield a resisted Water Pulse? If it's Togekiss or Credilli in the back, I win anyway with Scissor. If it's Dunsparce, this Giratina is still valuable. If it's Charizard, I cannot let Giratina go. So I shield the Water Pulse, knowing that it could very well be the Charizard. And it was. The 2 Ancient Powers take down his Protect Shields, but it becomes awkward. I get to the Night Slash, at the same time Alfie gets to his second Air Cutter. I can do 2 things here. Throw immediately, as Scissor wins a charge security tie against Scissor, or I don't throw at all, knowing he might catch the attack. I chose for the second option, and Alfie indeed made that catch attempt. He is unable to. Scissor farms down Galarian Corsola, and I move on to the Grand Finals. Now, I can watch and see who my next opponent would be. Ripley told me he's washed, but he makes it to the loser semis. The Galarian Moltres on his team can be tough, so I'd rather not take those odds. Pataman knocks him out though, so it's gonna be either Pataman or Alfie now. I prefer to see Pataman succeed, since he is a friend, but if Alfie makes it, I can showcase some more Giratina to the world. Alfie ends up winning 3-0 against Pataman, so I have to face him again. There's nothing new about the matchup, but let's analyze this a bit further. For the very first time, I am on the winner's side of this Grand Finals. My opponent is a world-class battler, but at this point, my victory seems somewhat inevitable. I need to win one best of 5, while Alfie needs to win the best of 5 twice, since he's coming from the loser side of the bracket. That means I am comfortable taking risks. And this was the time to show Giratina once more. I don't think it's great in this meta, but it doesn't matter. It's good against Alfie, and the Grand Finals is the most viewed set of the entire weekend. In fact, bringing Giratina was so important to me that I built my entire strategy around it. Remember, again, how I built a team based on partners, or cores of 2. They are key to how I approach this battle. Giratina and Scissor set each other up perfectly, and I will utilize them to the max. They allow for a wide combination of safety, coverage, aggression, and pressure. Despite a mediocre amount of bulk, these two are very hard for Alfie to defeat. My setup is as follows. The Scissor lead easily pulls shields or can set up Giratina for an energy, shield, or switch advantage. If Alfie leads Charizard, I would switch out to gain an energy advantage on Giratina. This is how I executed it in game 1. Scissor is not the greatest against Gastrodon when shields are up, but a Trailblaze would one-shot Gastrodon, so I easily pull a shield. If I then swap in Giratina, Alfie doesn't want to launch resisted energy into it. He is forced to switch out into Dunsparce or Galarian Corsola. He can't swap in Cradily or Togekiss, so if I win switch and those are in the back, then Scissor would devour them. I decided to bring either Gastrodon or Blastoise to complement this core as they tackle Alfie's best Pokémon in Gastrodon, Dunsparce and Galarian Corsola. I faced the worst composition possible. And Alfie is smart. Galarian Corsola is a better answer into Giratina, but if I baited out the Corsola, then my Gastrodon would annihilate the rest of his line. He brings in Dunsparce, so my Gastrodon now has to deal with Galarian Corsola. This Gastrodon still has energy, so this will be a close game. It comes down to a moment where I have to land the Water Pulse on a low health Galarian Corsola with 2 Nightshades or make a sacrificial catch. He calls the Body Slam bait, so now I have to make that catch, but Alfie is focused, locked in, and careful. He doesn't allow the catch on the Giratina, and Galarian Corsola hangs on 1 HP. But it's exactly 1 HP. Let me explain you a high level mechanic. One you don't see too often, but it's there, and very rarely, it's something you can use against your opponents. Imagine you are trying to farm down an opponent, but they hang on to your last fast stack, just barely, and they're reaching the charge attack. And you don't want to go down a shield, and you know you have a higher attack. If your opponent is at 1 HP and wants to get off that charge stack, you could set them up for something mean, the shield KO. Using a protect shield doesn't nullify charge stack damage, it reduces the damage to 1. Why? I don't know, but that's the mechanic. So yes, that means if you use a protect shield at 1 HP, you will get knocked out by that charge stack still. This is what we call the shield KO. Now let it be clear, this wasn't an intentional setup, but after the Shadow Claw didn't knock out, I knew it was my last resort. The Galarian Corsola had to be at 1 HP to win this game.
And Giratina Shadow Claw comes through, but it isn't enough! The Corsola hangs on to 1 HP, a charge attack priority here! There could be a protect shield KO! How much HP is it? Corsola, can you hang on? Inadequence is hoping, crossing his fingers, and it fades! It is a shield KO! Inadequence goes up 1-0!
When Alfie leads Cradily or Gastrodon, it's hard to have the other one in the back. That composition is extremely weak to a Giratina lead, but as you see in game 2, he does it anyway. In this game, I brought Blastoise instead of Gastrodon. Blastoise's utility is to simply soak damage. After pulling the shield from Gastrodon, I now swap in Blastoise instead. I want him to throw these neutral, weak body slams into Blastoise. Unfortunately, he answers with the Cradily. This is a perfect opportunity for Alfie to get rid of it, as it won't have much play against Scissor and Giratina. But we move into another high level mechanic here that wins me this battle. This is utilizing the switch clock. This season, the duration has been decreased from 50 to 45 seconds. A small and insignificant change, you'd think, but let's do some maths here. Every charge stack animation is approximately 12 seconds. Blastoise gets to its charge stacks quickly. 1 turn in Pokemon Go translates to half a second. It takes 12 turns, 6 seconds, to get to the first Hydro Cannon, and 9 turns, 4.5 seconds to get to the seconds. So after 3 charge stacks, my timer is likely to be up. You'd think this is a hindsight calculation. No. I already noticed the moment Alfie does 2 Mud Slaps, a relatively slow switch that took 3 seconds. I need to get 2 Hydro Cannon and shield 1 charge attack from him to waste another half a minute, and the time used to build to that energy overlaps the time needed to switch out. The timer is exactly up as I shield the Grass Knot and I snipe all the energy from the Cradily with one bullet punch from Scissor. All eyes are on the Bug and Steel type now, but keep in mind that I have a whopping 60% health and a Hydro Cannon left on that Blastoise. Alfie makes a slight misplay here by throwing Body Slam into Scissor, but is resisted. It hangs on and gets to a Night Slash. I wait another 10 seconds here, not because I'm thinking, but because I want to misalign the clock even further. Alfie, as you can see, is ready to lock Giratina in with his Corsola. He's waiting to switch, and I know this, so I need to be able to get out as soon as possible. I'm able to swap already after 5 Shadow Claw, and now Blastoise just needs to get Corsola low, so Giratina easily cleans up.
And Alfie's throwing this Nightshade, but it won't be enough to take down the Blastoise, and Blastoise already has a Hydro Cannon available that Alfie will almost certainly need to shield.
The shield is being used here. Of course, the Gastrodon has nothing to offer. The Ancient Power is going to be thrown into the Corsola, will for sure knock out.
It's a Shadow Giratina. It doesn't do anywhere near enough, and Giratina reaches the Dragon Claw.
And Adequance goes up 2-0 versus Alfie. He seems absolutely unstoppable in this Grand Finals.
My line for Game 3 has 2 strategies. First off, it's an ABB team against Cradily. If I lead Blastoise into Cradily, Scissor should be a great safe switch, because Cradily is almost impossible to pair with Charizard considering Giratina core break stat. If Blastoise wins switch, my core in the back wins on alignment. The problem is that Blastoise doesn't win a lot of leads. It can't defeat Galarian Corsola in the even shield scenario, and Gastrodon up a shield is tough for Giratina. Alfie has the perfect alignment in the back, but it's not over. Giratina is able to pull a shield and wear down the Dunsparce, which gives Scissor a slight opening. Once the Dunsparce expands their energy on Giratina, Scissor comes in to farm up energy as fast as possible. If there's Gastrodon in the back, I need energy. Because I baited twice before, I now full send the Trailblaze into the Gastrodon, but Alfie barely sniffs it out. At this point, I thought I would get to another Trailblaze, but I underestimated the Mudslap damage. I knew we would CMP on the Water Pulse, but he could just Body Slam instead, which Alfie did. Despite a rough match, he hardly made any mistakes, and he takes back a game. Alfie has read my game. I kept bringing the Giratina Scissor core, so I sensed he's hesitant to bring Cradily. Cradily is one of the Wigglytuff counters. If Alfie pivots away from both Charizard and Cradily, Wigglytuff is free. It locks down the powerful Galarian Corsola and has slightly positive wins against the other Pokemon due to Icy Wind. I decided that for this potentially final game, I bring back the OG, Giratina and Wigglytuff. If I lead into Galarian Corsola, I would switch into the Wigglytuff. If Charizard's in the back, it's gonna be tough. If I were to draw out Cradily, Giratina could Shadow Claw it down for energy afterwards, and Gastrodon would then be free. All my predictions are right in this battle. Alfie feared the Scissor, he didn't bring Cradily, and he also doesn't expect the Wigglytuff, he didn't bring Charizard. Giratina devours this Gastrodon lead, but Alfie decides to stay in. I think because he wants to build up energy before potentially baiting out Scissor with Dunsparce. But Dunsparce isn't bad into Scissor, so I would never bring Scissor into it. In fact, I consider my Gastrodon a decent answer to it. If I launch one Dragon Claw here, I would CMP on the second Drill Run. Gastrodon would win the matchup against Dunsparce with approximately 60% HP left. At this point, I am either predicting Cradily or Galarian Corsola in the back. I know I won the battle once he brings one of those out, but it's Togekiss instead. I didn't expect this and make a slight misplay. For a second, I thought Alfie had already used one shield, so I went for Water Pulse. Obviously, when I have fast attack pressure in the back with Wigglytuff, I should have spent Body Slams and kind of even hope he no shields. But it doesn't matter. I'm able to swap back into the Lord of the Distortion world. Giratina does what Giratina does best. Save the other Pokemon, stall the clock, soak damage, exert pressure. It sets up the Pokemon that was on my previous trophy-winning teams, Wigglytuff.
And again, Alfie throws a Shy Shock as Inadequates tries to farm up towards that Ancient Power. Will this Ancient Power knock out this Gastrodon? Can you still get a chance to throw off this Water Pulse? Yes, you can. That will do decent damage against the Giratina, and the Togekiss now has the potential to try and sweep the endgame.
Now Inadequence's best friend, the Wigglytuff, will have to carry for him, brings it in immediately. Of course, Togekiss is pacing fast, but there is so much damage!
I think Inadequence might be able to just fully fast attack down this Togekiss. It's not a very bulky Pokemon. There's still so much health left on that Gastrodon.
Show the world your bow, Wigglytuff! Goes in, no damage registered yet from this second charm. If this knocks out, it won't transfer, but there is still Giratina. There is still Gastrodon. How much damage can you do?
Inadequence about to return with the Giratina. He puts the Togekiss in range where Mud Slap might be enough. Mud Slap is enough!
Giratina returns! Inadequence is your Frankfurt regional champion!
Inadequence, once again, he is inevitable!
And that is how I struck gold once more with Giratina, this time in its altered form. At the start of this tournament, I thought my team was awful, but as always, you just gotta maneuver with what you bring. And the closer I got to the finals, the better my matchups became. For me, it felt like my victory here did not have the same excitement as my first win and the second place at Worlds. At some point, I just knew this was going to be my weekend, and I fully anticipated it. If you've come this far, thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video. I was busy with a project at work for the past 2 weeks, and that's why I hardly had any time to work on the video, and it took a while to get out there. If you like this, give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later. Bye bye.